You know that the cerebrum consists of two cerebral hemispheres. Each of these hemisphere is covered by a layer of gray matter called the cerebral cortex or pallium. Here you can see that each cerebral hemisphere is covered by a layer of the gray matter. This is known as cerebral cortex or pallium. Now the central region underneath the cortex, it consists of white matter. Here you can see the white matter. However, there are small masses of gray matter. They also occur in the white matter. Here you can see small masses of gray matter which also occur in the white matter, known as nuclei. Now the cerebral cortex, as stated above, the layer of gray matter covering the cerebral cortex, it is known as the cerebral cortex, or the cerebral hemisphere is called the cerebral cortex or pallium. It is to be noted that structure of the pallium is not same in all parts of the cerebrum. Now most of the pallium, it represents 90% of the cerebral cortex belongs to a type called isocortex or neocortex or neopallium, because it represents the new cortex that developed during the course of evolution. Now the remaining cortex appears phylogenetically old and is called the allocortex. The allocortex is structurally much simpler than the neocortex and comprises the olfactory cortex and cortex covering the hippocampal formation. Now the structure of neocortex, we will study it, and before discussing the structure of the various layers of the cerebral cortex, the cells present in the type of neurons found in the cerebral cortex should be studied first. Neurons which are present in the cerebral cortex are the pyramidal cells and the extrapyramidal cells. Now the pyramidal cells are multipolar. They are large multipolar neurons which have pyramid shaped pericardia, means cell body. Now each cell has one main dendrite which arises from the apex of the cell soma and passes outward to end in the most superficial layer of the cortex. So here you can see that it is a triangular shaped, and one dendrite is arising from it. Here you can see the dendrite arising from the apex of the cell soma. In addition, 4 or more branching dendrites pass out from the base of the perikaryon. So here you can see from the base of perikaryon, more dendrites are passing and runs into the underlying white matter to become the projection fibers or the association fibers. Now pyramidal cells are further classified into small, medium and large varieties on the basis of the height of their cell bodies, which generally ranges from 10 to 50 micrometer. However, in the internal pyramidal layer of the primary motor area, joint pyramidal cells known as Betz cells are found that have cell bodies that measure up to 100 micrometer in length. The other cells present in the cerebral cortex are the non-pyramidal cells, and this group includes the neurons of the following types. Number one is the granular cells. So granular cells are shown in the granular cells have small polygonal perikaryon, and these are also known as stellate cells. So the stellate cells and the these granular cells. So the cells of the granular cells, they have small polygonal pericarya. You can see here, these are the granular cells, and they have small pericarya, that is the cell body. These are also known as stellate cells. Here you can see Now, because of each of these cells give off a number of small dendrites that pass in various directions, giving a star-shaped appearance to the cell. Each granule cell gives off a short axon which ramifies close to the cell body. Most of the extrinsic inputs to the cerebral cortex, that is those from the related thalamic nuclei, terminate on the dendrites of the stellate cells. So here you can see the axons of the granular cells, and these are the dendrites which are receiving the input from the thalamus. Now, horizontal cells, these are small fusiform horizontally oriented neurons found in most superficial cortical layer. You can see here the most superficial cortical layer, horizontal cells. Horizontal cell has many short dendrites and a long axon which runs parallel to the surface of the cortex. You can see here in the green color, making contact with the dendrites of the pyramidal cells, and these axons are making contact with the dendrites of the pyramidal cells. Now, the cells of Martinotti, these are small multipolar neurons found in the deeper layers of the cerebral cortex. Cells of the Martinotti shown here, you can see cells of the Martinotti, and these have short dendrites, but the long axon ascend towards the cortical surface to end in a more superficial layer, commonly reaching the outermost layer of the cortex. So these are the fibers of the axons of the cells of the Martinotti. Now the other cells, that is the fusiform cells. These cells have spindle shaped and that are oriented at right angle to the surface of the cerebral cortex. You can see here, and the axons arises from the side of the cell body and descends into the white matter. So here you can see it's axon descending into the white matter. Each end of the fusiform cell body gives rise to several branching dendrites. These dendrites extends outwards into the superficial layers and inwards into the deeper layers of the cerebral cortex. Now, this is the histological section of the cerebral cortex, and you can see this is H&E stained, and in this section you only see the nuclei. You can see here the nuclei of various cells in the layers, and the surface of the cerebral cortex is covered by pia matter. So here you can see the arrangement of the cells in the layers of the cerebral cortex. Now we will study these layers in detail. So here you can see this is also the histological section, but this is by silver staining method, not the H&E, because you can see here the axons and the cell bodies, they are outlines of the cell bodies, and the axons fibers are visible. So this is silver staining method, and the layers of cerebral cortex consist of 6 layers, and the fibers consist of 6 layers of cells and fibers which are superimposed on one another. Now these layers can be easily identified in a stained tissue section which has been cut perpendicular to the cortical surface. The 6 cortical layers from superficial to deep are the number 1 is the molecular layer. Now you can see here the molecular layer, which consists of less number of nuclei, more number of axons in them, and this layer, also called plexiform layer, is composed chiefly of cell processes, that is dendrites and axons. Now in section stained for nerve fibers, the transversely cut cell process gives a punctate or molecular appearance to this layer. So that's why it is called molecular layer. So it is essentially a synaptic zone of the cerebral cortex. Neurological cells and some neuroglial cells and some horizontal cells are present in this layer, as I have shown you before. Now the second layer is the external granular layer. So first was the molecular layer, then second is the external granular layer up till that, from here to here. So this is the external granular layer, and external granular layer This layer consists of mainly closely packed granule cells or stellate cells. Now, in addition, many small pyramidal cells are also present in this layer. Then comes the third layer, that is the external pyramidal layer. So, first was the external granular, then the external pyramidal layer, and in this external pyramidal layer you can see that it is composed of mainly of medium sized pyramidal cells. You can see the medium sized pyramidal cells and which increase in size from external border to the internal border of the layer, and some granule cells and Martinotti cells are also found in them. Granule cells and Martinotti cells. Now, third layer is the fourth layer is the internal granular. So, first layer was molecular, then the external granular, then external pyramidal, then internal granular, and in this internal granular layer consists of mainly closely packed granule cells. Many small pyramidal cells are also present. So, closely packed granular cells and small pyramidal cells are present. Next layer is the internal pyramidal layer. Internal pyramidal layer has, as you can see here, large size pyramidal cells are present. In addition, it contains fusiform cells, granule cells and Martinotti cells. Now, last layer is the multiform layer. You can see here the multiform layer, and in this multiform layer you can appreciate this is the deepest innermost layer of the cerebral cortex. It contains neurons of various shapes, and therefore it is known as the polymorphic layer. In this layer lodges fusiform cells and pyramidal cells, stellate cells and Martinotti cells. So, this is the last layer. So, cerebral cortex, it consists of 6 layers: molecular layers, external granular layer, external pyramidal layer, internal granular layer, internal pyramidal layer and multiform layer. And cells it consists of the gray matter, the cerebral cortex, it consists of 4 cells: granule cells, horizontal cells, Martinotti cells and fusiform cells and the pyramidal. So, 5 kinds of cells are present in these 6 layers. So, these are the histological features. Now, the allocortex has a much simpler structure and consists only of the 3 layers. These 3 layers are the molecular layer, pyramidal cell layer and multiform layer. So, this lecture was regarding the histology of cerebrum. So, this was the histology of cerebral cortex, and beneath this we will draw the axons, which consists of white matter, and this consists of the axons of these neurons, or the axons coming from the lower centers, and the oligodendrocyte cells which form the myelin sheath around these axons. So, I hope you have understood the histology of cerebrum now very well. Thank you.